Today, we're going to be checking out this awesome Roland V-STAGE piano. It's kind of like the Nord Stage competitor in a lot of ways, but it does have some things that the Nord cannot offer. Let's check it out. I'm Roland Pettis, and this is Alamo Music Center, San Antonio, Texas. Check out our website, alamomusic.com, and hop on our YouTube channel, Alamo Music Sound Lab, and subscribe. As mentioned before, we have a lot of great videos coming up in the future. Some modern stuff, some classic stuff, some effects processors and samplers, and a whole bunch more. Check out our previous videos, and don't forget to check out our other channels as well for guitars and pianos and more things. Alamo Music Sound Lab and more. Okay, Roland V-STAGE piano, right? Looks pretty awesome, feels really awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about it. First off, I want to talk about the build quality of this thing. I was really impressed when we opened the box here at Alamo Music. I was kind of anticipating the build quality from the pictures I saw online was going to be more like the Phantom 08 series, which is a lot of plasticky kind of stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but I was really impressed that this is all metal. Really good construction. So if you're the gigging kind of person and you need something that's going to be reliable, this is definitely going to do it. The knobs feel reinforced, which is great. They don't have a whole lot of play with them, so it really seems like the knobs are going to be really workable for many years to come, which is kind of like a hindrance for a lot of new keyboards. There's a lot of manufacturers out there right now because they have to cut costs, to have a lower price point for the end user. They cut back a little bit on the build quality, right? So some of the knobs on some keyboards are really loose from default. The keys feel kind of clacky, but not here. This thing is really well built, and I would not mind taking it to a gig any day of the week. Speaking of taking it to a gig, that's kind of what this baby's meant for. Now, it's not that this won't do really awesome in the studio, because it certainly will do that, but this kind of like offers all the things that you would typically need in a live gigging board. It's all set up into sections, and each section is tweakable real time, which is awesome. Back when I was gigging several years back, I'd have to have 3 or 4 keyboards, and there wasn't a whole lot in the top panel to navigate what I needed to accomplish, which made editing on the fly a pain in the neck. Not here. Just like other manufacturers like Nord, they have everything kind of compartmentalized in all these areas. So let's talk about each section, starting with this one right over here. This is the organ section. This is what's going to deliver those massively cool Hammond B3 tones. And of course, you've got your drawbars to navigate it real time on the fly. You've got a rotor brake section right over here, so you can actually determine the speed of that kind of Leslie effect. You can engage it or disengage it, which is classic and awesome. A lot of this technology here was kind of brought from the older V series, the VK series. If you remember back in the 2000s, the VK7 and the VK8 organs were pretty legendary in their own right as far as bringing the Hammond B3 back into the swing back in the 2000s. Well, anyway, you have that kind of in this little section here. You have several different tones you can choose from, several different presets that are loaded in the center panel. But of course, once you pick a preset, you can just navigate from there on. You've got your percussion section, harmonic bar parts, for lower, upper, or the pedals. You can hook up pedals and have it engage the B3 thing if you'd like. So that's a really cool thing. It's really all-inclusive for the B3 lover. Next to that, you've got your acoustic piano section. Now, this is really cool. I had a Roland V piano for a certain amount of years, and I just loved the action and the sound and the feel of that V piano. Well, they've incorporated the V piano thing into this keyboard, but of course, they've taken it 10 steps forward, technology advances, etc. You've got 2 different tones to start with. You've got your grand and you've got your upright. But each one of those with the piano designer button can take you to a really high degree of tweakability. So all the resonance, just the way it responds, the way it feels on the key touch can be adjusted to your tastes, which is pretty awesome. It's pretty limited on the front panel, but once you engage the piano designer button, you do get a lot more out of this section. By default, I find the acoustic pianos on here really good. And this is kind of a tricky territory, right? because everybody that plays piano has their own preference to what brand is the best or what model is the best. And for example, there's Kawai lovers, there's Yamaha CP lovers, right? There's the Nord Stage lover, and each one of those pianos in those libraries that they give is a piano, but it's all really, really different. The smallest little nuance of a keystroke can make the biggest difference on a passage when you're playing it, right? And different key beds and different engines respond very differently to your touch. So this is no exception. This does have its own thing, its own way of working in its own way, right? I find the pianos on here really rich, lush, and bright when you want them to be, very dynamic and very responsive to the key touch. I will say this though, the factory presets, while they're fantastic, I really got the most out of my piano tone by getting into that piano designer function. It's pretty fast to get the sound and the response that you're looking for. So if you're reading some reviews out there that kind of like diss the piano section on here, it might be just that they didn't really take the time to really get in there and kind of carve out their own tone, right? Their own piano response. And once you have done that, you can store it so it's there for good, right? So my vote is yes for the acoustic piano. Super cool, super awesome. We're going to skip this section a little bit because this is just the navigation part. We're going to move on to the electric piano section. And, I grew up playing a Fender Rhodes. That was my electric piano. I didn't do the Wurlitzer thing. I didn't do a clavinet thing, although it does offer all of that and more. I was a Fender Rhodes guy, more so than an acoustic piano guy. Well, I've always thought personally that Roland failed to really deliver the Rhodes thing authentically on most of their previous keyboards. I found them to be a little too pingy or bright, bell-like, or all thuddy and lows, but nothing in between depending on which model I was playing at that given time. I think they finally fixed it because I'm in love with this electric piano. I find it a lot more engaging, and it's got more of that classic feel than a Nord Stage in my book. Again, not really dissing the Nord Stage, it's great for its own thing, but I really kind of am akin to this Rhodes tone and this engine here. You've got 4 different sections in the electric piano. You can do the Tine, which is the Rhodes thing, the Reed, which is the Wurlitzer thing, the Digital, which is kind of like a Yamaha CP70 kind of thing, and the clavinet, we all know what that is. Thank you, Stevie Wonder, for putting that on the map with Superstition. It's definitely awesome, and it's definitely cool, and it's definitely tweakable. Just like we were talking about on the piano section and the organ section, there's a lot of real-time modifiers on this little section here, more so than the others in this section. You could designate the octave shift, you can do splits for left and right and assign different things on left and right. You do have your multiple effects section loaded on here. You can engage them on and off. Next to that, you've got your tremolo, which you absolutely need for a Rhodes or a Whirly, and you have an on and off button right here for that as well. And you've got your amp simulator. So, if you had a Fender Rhodes with the cabinet, this can kind of get you into that territory, or it can kind of get into that, Fender combo thing pretty quick. Each one of these has a good way of modifying, and again, all real time, real fun. Love this section. Moving on, we have the synthesizer section. So, what's so awesome about that? Well, some other manufacturers, when they bring a synthesizer section into a stage piano like this, I'm not going to name any names, but the modifiers and the engine itself are really limited. And although there's a limited amount of modifiers on here, the engines are where it's at. The synthesizer part here incorporates the Zen Core technology. That Zen Core technology, as you may or may not know, is extremely powerful, and it's extremely authentic in delivering classic tones from Jupiters to Junos to SH and more, right? So that engine is here, and you can incorporate more Zen Core engines into it, hooking up USB, going to the rolling cloud, so you can install and kind of like augment the synthesizer section here. By default, this does come with the Jupiter and the Juno series engines in it, and I believe there's one other more. I'm not sure, forgot off the top, but it's in there. And again, you do have a lot of different ways to modify it. You've got your envelope section, which is simplistic, but it gets you right down to what you really need when you're doing a live gig. You've got your attack and your release. You've got your octave shift, and you've got your splits right here for left and right, part A and part B, because there is 2 parts. And you've got different modifiers. This knob right here can modify the category of what you're looking for, right? So you've got your strings, lead, key, pad, bass, and other, which is a multitude of different things. So once you kind of navigate that tone knob here and clicking on pushing it in to press it, you can engage whatever category you'd like, and then navigate the preset from there on. On top of that, you've got 1 knob for the filter. That's probably my biggest gripe, right? And that filter knob is cut off. There is no resonance on it, so although there is resonance in the engine itself, there's not a modifier real time for resonance. And I really think that that's where they fall short, and that's where one of their competitors is a little bit stronger, right? Because on some of the other competitors, there's a lot more tweakability for the synth section. But needless to say, if you're in a gig and you've already kind of programmed all your good stuff, then you're good. It still gives you a modifier for that filter in case you need it. Below that, you've got your multiple effects section with control on 2 different parameters and your on and off for it. Wow, that's a lot to cover so far, right? Well, we got, a couple more things to go. Total effects. So as I indicated, each one of these engines has its own effects on it, right? This is the total effects globally for everything, and it's a pretty extremely powerful effects processor. The delays are pretty awesome, from retro tape delays to clean digital delays. Reverbs are surprisingly really good, to the point where I was thinking about incorporating an Eventide on this for the show, but I don't think it needs it at all. The reverb on here is plenty lush and plenty cool, whether you want a long, sustaining, dark reverb or a pingy, bright, splashy kind of room type verb. It's got it, it can do it, no problem. And of course, all these different effects sections have their on and off for each different effect. MFX is the multi-effects, delay on and off, and reverb on and off. Super cool, so that you can incorporate whatever effect you want globally at any time. Lastly, we've got an equalizer section. So, we all know that once we start digging on a preset, it might be a little too bright, a little too boomy. Well, you can definitely fix that pretty quick with the master EQ section. It's not a very vibey sounding equalizer. It's kind of like a surgical equalizer. It just kind of does the job and just that. You also have on the bottom here, you have a mic input with on and off and level. So yes, you can plug in a microphone into the back. There is an XLR jack on the back panel of it. So if you wanted to run your vocals through here and then use the effects, no problem. And of course, you're going out left and right into the PA system. So now you've saved a jack on the main board, so you don't have to hook up a mic to the main console, right? Super cool. Speaking of the back panel, we do have XLR outputs balanced so that you don't need a DI box. It's kind of like built in, which is fantastic. Get the most out of your gain structure with that. But you also have 2 1/4-inch jacks left and right on the back panel so that you can incorporate your own DI boxes. There's a lot of talk about the right DI box for a keyboard, and there's certain people that love this brand or that brand because, again, each one has its own thing going on, its own tone. So if you have your favorite DI, whether it's tube or not, you can definitely incorporate that with the 1/4-inch jacks right over here. You've got a sub output that's balanced, so you can assign different things to those outputs. You do have line inputs left and right on 1/4-inch to drive in an extra keyboard or some playback system, a recording system playing back through it. You can definitely do that. And as mentioned, you've got the mic jack on the back panel to plug in your microphone. On the middle of the section towards the back, we've got a couple of USB ports, device 1, device 2. You've got a memory USB port, so if you have a thumb drive, no problem there. You've got a USB-C computer port to hook it up to a laptop or your phone. You can definitely do that. MIDI in, out, and through on the back panel. And you've got 4 pedal jacks. You've got your control 1, 2, 3, which are assignable. And you've got your hold, which is sustain. I did forget something. I forgot the middle section. Sorry about that. Totally skipped it. So on the middle section, we've got a couple different things, obviously. You've got your navigate system, which is kind of where you scroll through the presets. You've got your banks right over here. You've got your increase and decrease. So essentially this center section here is a way for you to get in and out of where you need to be engine-wise or performance-wise, all the way around. Pretty good looking screen, and the cool thing about the screen, which is not really like a lot of manufacturers out there, no matter what angle the keyboard is at, the screen is legible and clean and clear. Super awesome. Okay, build quality is awesome. Engines are awesome. The keys feel awesome. It's a pretty awesome keyboard. It's a very, very good attempt at Roland coming into that Stage territory. Again, if you're needing a Stage keyboard or a really awesome studio controller, synthesizer, engine, yeah, this definitely covers that for sure. Well, we've talked a lot about this keyboard. Let's hear it in action. I'm going to play a lot of the factory patches, and I think you're really going to enjoy them. I certainly do. I really hope you enjoyed checking out this Roland V-Stage. As you clearly heard, it's pretty powerful and it sounds pretty awesome. A lot of great features and a great build quality. All in all, a really awesome piano from Roland. I'm glad they unveiled it. Thanks for checking us out. It's Alamo Music Sound Lab on YouTube. Subscribe, please. And check out our website, alamomusic.com. I'm Roland V-STAGE. Thank you for watching.